Alright, everybody knows my name by now. Stephane Poulin, le Vrai De Vrai. Okay? I'm about to be a teacher for the next 20 minutes. I'm going to show you, very descriptively, what my bobo is. Okay? I will show you with graphs, and I will show you on this next little video. After this, okay, you will understand why you all think I'm nuts and out of this world. Okay? Remember, my biography is 100% real. I lived that. Fact of life. Okay? That's one and foremost. Two, I'm going to show you and explain to you the reason why you think it's called schizophrenia. Far from. Schizophrenia is a disease that's in the head. It's a disease that you hear things that aren't there. It's a disease that you see things that are not there. My bobo is something completely different. When I was 5, I suffered my first major accident. Fact of life. I fell off a monkey bar set. Okay? It was about 15 feet up in the air, and I fell down and I damaged my spine. Okay? Now watch these next graphs and listen carefully. I'm not going to die thinking that the world is stupid. You're going to get this right so you don't make the same mistake twice. Fact of life. Now, we all know what that is? Huh? It's a picture of a skeleton person. When I was 5, my first accident, right here. Okay? You see this spot right here in the neck? That was damaged and crushed. Crushed. Okay? That happened when I was 5 years old. Still no bobo in the head. Still nothing wrong with the head at all. But with that bobo, the fluids starting having trouble reaching from here to the head, drying up the brain, making me very quiet and nearly dehydrating the brain enough to cause concussion without even getting hit anymore. Fact of life. Okay? That's when I was 5. Now, a few years after that, a 3rd grade teacher picked me up by the neck and threw me to the back of the room. When I hit the back of the room, I hit right here. These 4 spots right here were crushed. My back went that way. There again, causing a bobo in my spine, stopping the fluids from going up and coming back down. So far, are we on the same page? We understand that part, right? Okay, so by the time I was in grade 3, I had already suffered 2 major spinal bobos. And that affected the brain. But the bobo is not in the brain. Schizophrenia, that bobo would be in the brain. Not what I have. Fact of life. Okay, those were man-made bobos. Aside from falling off myself off the monkey bars, which I blame God, okay? The wind was too strong for me that day. Alright? So now we're on the same page. It doesn't end there, look. It gets worse. You saw all those lines in the spine, look? Huh? All bobos I suffered. Not sick in the head yet. But back then, I had now turned into a very quiet person. Very scared. I was afraid of everything. Fact of life. The reason I was afraid of everything was because my brain wasn't being nourished properly. Reason why I wrote all those Stephen King books. Because I lived in fear. I was terrified of everybody on the planet. No matter who you were, I was afraid of you. And instead of retaliating and becoming a really crazy person, I chose to write. And so I took real life experiences and I entertained you with it in my books. I was already the smartest man on the planet, and I was only 7 years old. Fact of life. Now, why people started getting afraid was because I was quiet most of the time. Up until stretches and little bits of fluid made it to the brain, where it caused overexcitement. Fact of life. So I'd go from being very quiet, very passive, to very excited. Let's go play, come on, come on, come on. Huh? Like a 3-year-old. Still no bobo in the head. Fact of life. Okay? Let's go back to the graph. I'll show you some more. Now those were the bobos we talked about. First one off the monkey bars sprung my neck back and damaged this part of my spine. Okay? Then the third class teacher damaged this part because my back hit the hooks at the back of the class and damaged this part. A few years later after that, my stepfather did me a huge bobo. Okay? He grabbed me by the neck and squeezed it by tilting it sideways, causing another bobo a little lower, right about here, but on the front side of the spine instead of the back side of the spine. When he threw me down to the ground and I hit the table, okay, this part of my back was now being damaged. Okay? You follow me so far? Now we're not done though. Years after that. Pretty nasty, huh? I survived all that. Years after that. Okay? Doctors tried to figure out what was going on with me. They wanted to know if it was schizophrenia. They wanted to know if it was something with the spine. So what they did is they took needles and did a spinal tap on me. Okay? That spinal tap, doctors are only allowed to attempt it twice. If they don't get enough fluids after 2 tries, they are not allowed to try again. Reason for it, me, in that hospital, they tried 12 times. Okay? A little tiny speck, a little needle, just a little tiny needle. Look. You know how tiny needles are, right? Huh? Just something that big, that small, can cause major, major long life problems. Okay? I'm going to show you on the graph again, right where they stuck those needles into me. Now usually doctors are supposed to try and do a spinal tap right about here. Okay? Now their excuse was that there wasn't enough room in between the discs to stick the needle in. So what they did is they started down here. They tried twice. After they realized they couldn't get any fluids out, they went up, and then up, and then up, and then up, and then up, damaging my entire lower spinal Fact of life. Since they tried those needles, I can hardly walk today. Another fact of life. That's not the end of it. Okay? There's more. There was a freak accident at work where a 2,000-pound carpet roll fell on top of my head. This is where the damage inside the head and the brain happened. Still no schizophrenia. Okay? The bobo is the fact that my fluids are not running up to the brain and then back to nourish the body properly. That is my bobo. The reason why is because of everything I just explained to you and a little bit more that I'll go into details right now. While I was working at the Home Depot, we sold carpet. I was a carpet salesman. Right here on top of the brain, okay, is where the carpet roll fell and cracked, fractured my skull. Right in the middle, causing internal bleeding on the top part of the brain. When this happened, everywhere in my body that was damaged before crushed. And instead of having space in between the discs, they went kluk. There, and on the bottom part of it. So are we learning? It's very simple, okay? Now the bobo that happened to the top of the head, okay, that gets checked regularly. Every year or every 2 years. Every once in a while, there's sharp pain just on the top of the head. Like somebody is putting a nail and hammering it in. Okay? That's internal blood that's drying up. When the blood dries up, it causes pain. Sometimes enough pain to have me collapse and fall to the ground. The more stress I live in real life, the more chances I'll fall. That's worse than cancer. On top of that, I'll show you a picture of my back. I'll take off my shirt and I'll show you how curved my spine is. Due to all these bobos, my spine is crooked. I wasn't born that way. I was beaten. Fact of life. With all those bobos, you get a very quiet man. Fact of life. Up until I have enough nutrients in my body to, let's go out and play again. Fact of life. I am not a dangerous man. I write crazy shit. Because what I do is I take real life experiences and I make spooky stories with them. The world is not allowed to take those spooky stories and then retry to put them on me as real stories. Hey, that's the world being a terrorist. I'm an entertainer. That's the only job left for me. All I can do is lift a little tiny camera like I'm doing right now. Fact of life. Once in a while I have enough strength to hold my child up. Sucks, huh? We're not done. And I'll show you some more graphs. See? We learn something new every day. This time you learn something new. Those are facts of life. And something I can't change. But one thing I can change is the way the whole world around me is behaving and reacting about it. The bubble is not in the head at all. There is no mental condition. Fact of life. Aside from being in fear or overly excited. You lock someone up very long, and this test has been proven in the past. But you stick somebody in prison for 50 years, let's say, and then you let him out. A lot of things will happen to the brain before he goes back to normal. Whoa, cars. You know, just a transition in the world. Going from everybody using horses, like in the 1800s. Now somebody who spent time in prison without seeing what was going on outside in the world. In those days when they went from horses to real cars, people would have thought he's Scitso. Let's educate ourselves. We'll have a better world to live in. Fact of life. My stories are crazy, I know. And that's my job. I don't want to be a teacher. For God's sakes, the teachers I've had in my life scared me more than anybody else. That's your class for today. Over and out. Now these are facts of life. And those are the only bubbles I'm actually suffering from. Aside from the little cancer I caught not too long ago. A lump in my neck. That's like breast cancer. Lump in the breast. Ladies get them in the breast often enough. Well, I caught it in the neck. Okay? Fact of life. No doctors on the planet has ever labeled me with schizophrenia. Another fact of life. All doctors on the planet have the graphs and the chance to revise it for themselves. I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody. I'm trying to teach you the difference between what you thought I had and what I really do have. Okay? The police are not allowed to decide for themselves what they think a person might have. 3 of Ottawa's major hospitals. And I'm going to tell you, these are all facts though, because they have these reports already. Okay? There's the Montfort Hospital, there's the General Hospital, there's the Civic Hospital. Technically speaking, there's 2 more hospitals. There's the Queensview Hospital. The Home Depot accident was reported at the Queensview Hospital. Fact of life. On top of that, there was a Vancouver-based hospital. All these hospitals have real facts for you. It's about time you wake up and smell the coffee. Over and out. Till I got something major else to say.